Greetings everyone. So I just got back from the gym and I wanted to make a video really quick because I was thinking about, like, me and my friend Kirsten this week were talking about, like, he was saying some words wrong. I was correcting him. Like, he would say he drived around, and I would say no, it's drove around, not drived. And then we talked about other words that sound the same but they use different letters to past tense and all this kind of stuff. And I was thinking about, like, how I should have been a teacher, right? And when I was at the gym, I was listening to this podcast with Ari Shafir and Ali Sadiq. And they were talking about the Challenger explosion. And they were in 4th grade. This was 1986, so I was probably 5th, 6th grade, maybe. And they were talking about how the teachers would bring a TV inside the room, or they'd go into the gym and everybody would watch it because it was like a big historic event. The United States had just gone to the moon it was 86. We'd already been to the moon. 10 or 20 years before that. It's the 60s, right? Anyway, we're trying to go back to the moon, and they had this teacher that was going to be on the space shuttle. And they told the kids that they were going to, Big Bird was going to be on the space shuttle from Sesame Street. And that was like a big deal for kids because it's like a huge TV show. And he was talking, Ali Sadiq was talking about, like, his teacher, when it exploded, they pulled the plug out of the wall and they didn't let them watch it. And I was thinking, like, that's not how I would do it, because I'm different. This is why I probably couldn't be a teacher. They wouldn't hire me, because I'd do crazy stuff like this. And I would probably just go all over the place. Like, I probably should be teaching, like, one specific subject. If it's elementary school, I'd probably just teach everything, maybe, like, throughout the day, but split it up. I don't know how I would do it, but I think I should just be able to just ramble on about different subjects and connect them all. But then you wouldn't remember, like, what you've already taught before. You might go over the same stuff over and over again. Anyway, how I would do it, if I was a teacher today, because I know there's a lot of kids, I'd say like 100% of kids probably don't even know about the Challenger disaster. I would bring up YouTube on TV or something. I'm sure they got TVs. And I would say, look, guys, I'm going to show you something that back in the 80s, teachers wouldn't have shown you because they would have wanted to shelter you from it. But I think kids should know certain things about history and the truth about reality. And besides, you all have cell phones, you probably watch porn and all this other stuff anyway. That would probably get me in trouble. Then I would bring up this clip and I would just show them. And I'd say, look, the graphics are going to be bad because this was like 40 years ago and we didn't have HD back then. And I would play them this. And I'll check it out.
Let's go down to the Kennedy Space Center and take a look at Challenger sitting on the pad.
I'll tell them that the kids thought Big Bird was on board.
We have main engine start. 4, 3.
And there's a teacher on board.
And liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
This isn't what they showed on TV, I don't think. This is behind the scenes.
Engines at 65%, 3 engines running normally, 3 good fuel cells.
Everybody was like cheering and clapping. They were so excited. Everybody was happy.
57 feet per second. Altitude 4.3 nautical miles. Downrange distance 3 nautical miles.
This happens very fast.
So the 25th Space Shuttle mission is now on the way after more delays than NASA cares to count. This morning it looked as though they were not going to be able to get off.
And boom.
1 minute 15 seconds. Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles. Downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
Yep, he's not downrange anymore. He's going back to Earth.
Looks like a couple of the solid rocket boosters blew away from the side of the shuttle in an explosion.
I don't remember what everybody was saying at the time.
Very carefully at the situation. Obviously a major malfunction.
Pretty major.
We're awaiting word. They're holding their breath, just, I'm sure, as everyone else is. In the center of the fire and the smoke, you can't see any form of what was once the shuttle.
Boom.
You saw it just a few moments ago, about 45 seconds after liftoff, a huge fireball in the sky.
We have a report from the flight flight dynamics officer that the vehicle has exploded. Flight director confirms that. We are looking at checking with the recovery forces to see what can be done at this point.
So then, back in those days, you would have had to explain all this to the kids. Like, they're going to ask questions like, where did they go? Where's the shuttle? What's happening? What's happening? Because maybe they don't know about death yet. Maybe that's just a new concept to them. And then you just have to explain, like, they died. Because the search for truth and knowledge and going into space is something that people are willing to risk their lives for. This is what kids need to know. Because if you're going to do, I don't know, novel things, and you're going to, like, take risks, and you're going to, like, study all your life to try to, like, become like an astronaut is like the pinnacle of, like, first you got to become like a pilot, and then you got to become like the best pilots, and you got to be in the best shape of your life, and you got to take all these tests for like mental capacity, and you got to be super smart. You got to be almost like an engineer or specialize in certain things, and then you get the tip of the spear, right? I think I also heard when I was a Boy Scout you had to be like an Eagle Scout to become a pilot, but I think that's just something they were telling us. Anyway, I would probably go into stuff about, maybe throw some religion in there too, which would get me in trouble. And I would say, like, you know, your parents are going to say stuff about, like, men shouldn't go after knowledge because Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and when you pursue knowledge, the serpent said you would surely die, or something. I don't say, like, pursuing knowledge as humans, we consider it a worthwhile cause. It's something we will die for. And that should, like, be uplifting to kids. That should be, like, something kids should be told. But they're not. And then, where else would I take it from there? I would tell them, like, hey, when you're 30 years old, 40 years old, when you're an old person, you're going to look back at this day as a moment in history. Because you could tell just from seeing that this is going to be something that's going to be remembered. Like when you saw 9/11 happen. 9/11, you knew you're going to be an adult, and you're still going to remember this for the rest of your life. Not many other events. Oh, John F. Kennedy getting shot. Like they were talking about how, like, when a pope dies, it's not that big of a deal. They were talking about Michael Jackson. When Michael Jackson died, the whole world got on the internet and they just crashed the internet. But, like, nobody else could have really done that. And they were talking about, like, Muhammad Ali. The Pope wouldn't have done it because it was other countries. It has to be somebody not just famous in America. Like if Trump died, probably everybody in America would be online, and some other countries, but not like, I don't know, Azerbaijan or like some other countries that don't even care about Trump. But Michael Jackson was like a universally loved figure at the time. Like people were passing out at his concerts, and they have to take him to hospitals and stuff. It was freaky. I think it's just because there wasn't that many musicians that were none more than celebrities. Like the whole thing, everything, the radio, TV was kind of new. Like by the 70s, it wasn't that new, but it's like, and then he's like the biggest pop star in the world. I don't even know by today's standards if he would be considered that good. I guess he would be. I don't know. I'm trying to talk about Michael Jackson right now. Anyway, I'm talking about if I was a teacher, I would go through all this stuff, and I would maybe talk about like how it's a tragedy, and then I would maybe divert that into like, now let's talk about what the word tragedy means. And a comedy and a tragedy are opposites. And a comedy is a writing or play or a book or something that ends with a happy ending. And a tragedy is something that ends with a sad ending. And even though like comedians tell jokes, that's like a form of comedy, but it's not like in Shakespeare days, comedy meant just a happy ending. And then I would talk about maybe, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to like work all this stuff in there. But yeah, like if these teachers today, if they would just like pull the plug and not show the kids what's going on. Like say you're watching something for school, right? And you're watching like a live TV show of some big event, and they break in, like a big school shooting is happening and somebody's shooting up their high school. Would people let the kids see the news about that, or would they like censor it from them? Or see, that's the problem you get with censorship and like communism. I just watched the Gentleman in Moscow TV series last week. It was really good, and it was all like about the Bolshevik Revolution, and they put this guy in a hotel, like kept him there for years and years, like the rest of his life, pretty much 20 or 30 years. He had his whole life inside this hotel. I don't know if that's a true story or not. I think it is. Anyway, communists were all about censorship. And I don't know. If you guys didn't know about the Challenger explosion, now you did. Maybe you've learned something. But I'll just kind of go all over the place. Yeah, and then I'll start talking about comedies and tragedies, and maybe I'd get talking about Shakespeare, and maybe how, I don't know. There's this new Romeo and Juliet right now, or I think Juliet's a black girl and Romeo's a white guy. Maybe I probably shouldn't talk about that. Anyway, you see my point. I could be a good teacher, but I don't think anybody would hire me or let me stay employed because of my teaching style, because I would be too honest. That's the problem. Nobody wants honest teachers anymore. Plus, I'm not LGBT, so I guess that wouldn't count.